What's up, everybody? I figured, well, I got a little bit of time before I gotta go to work tonight. I figured I'd do an update video on the Thorogood Waterproof Nanotoes. That was the model number 804-4248 that I did the unboxing video on. And so far I've worn them to work twice. I believe it was. Or no, 3 times. I've worn them to work 3 times. I don't say I wore them through the weekend shift, which is 2 12-hour days. And then, of course, last night, my nights are 8 hours. So you figure, let's see, 24 and 8. So far we've got about 32 hours worth of wear time in these boots. And I tell you what, these are pretty comfortable boots. Where I have really wide feet, I'm really digging this toe shape, this really wide toe shape. These were kind of stiff when I first got them out of the box, and I was like, oh man, I don't know, that might take a little bit of, time of breaking in and stuff. But by the end of the first 12-hour shift, they were feeling pretty good. I first put them on, they were a bit tight when I first put them on, but I expected that with the addition of the waterproof line, the waterproof booty in there. Takes up room. So, and they only offer these basically in a D width and a double E width. So I went with the double E's, of course, but with this toe box, you really don't need to worry about if you got a wide foot. The double E will definitely be wide enough, I feel like. So these boots here, they have that Vibram outsole, and this outsole is really sticky when it comes to grip, and it's surprisingly very comfortable, even on concrete or hard surfaces. It's still pretty comfortable. It definitely has enough bounce and give to it, and it's really sticky. Really digging this outsole. Of course, the longevity of the outsole is going to be, to be determined with time. But so far, this has been a fantastic boot. The one thing I did notice about these boots that they don't have, that my other boots do that are Thorogoods, is they normally do a stitching for the counter right through here. It's like a small double stitch, and these don't have that, which makes me wonder what they've done with the counter inside there, because I can feel a counter inside the boot when I put my hand down in the boot. There's a counter in there, but it's in behind the waterproof booty and everything. So I don't know. That's still kind of a mystery. What they've done with that counter. But of course, over time we'll see if that needs to be, if that's something that becomes an issue down the road, or maybe it doesn't have any issues at all. But I'm really digging this boot so far. It's it's well worth the money. If you haven't tried this boot before, you definitely should pick you up a pair. This is in the Crazy Horse leather, and it will feel kind of stiff from new out of the box, but literally these things were flexing and working for me, within the first day of wearing them. That probably can sound like, maybe they're not going to last very long if they was already, flexing and moving pretty good within the first day, but that's just how Thorogood does their leather. Their leather is tumbled in a tanning drum, and this Crazy Horse leather is a stiffer type of leather than the tobacco, so it's naturally going to feel a little stiff at first, but when you start working this boot around and flexing it and stuff, it will become comfortable after about a day. So there's no worries with this boot. The tongues on these boots, I don't know if you can kind of see, they are doing pretty good. One of my other pairs of waterproof Thorogood boots that I have, for the longest time I had trouble with that tongue, getting that tongue to lay where I wanted it. And this boot here, I think because of the Trail Crazy Horse leather where it's stiffer, it's made this tongue stay, put a lot better. So I'm really thankful for that. It really makes lacing the boots up a lot easier, and it you don't ever have any trouble with it, and it's a plenty wide enough tongue. When I get this boot laced up, and I get the tongue's already pretty much will lay right there. I don't even have to mess with it much anymore. And when the sides of it come together around the tongue, it's the tongue is wide enough that it'll set behind the shaft like this. You don't have a annoying little gap where the tongue might have fallen too far one way or the other and making a gap between the edge of the tongue and the side of the boot. I can't stand that. So whenever I'm lacing my boots up, I always try to make sure that tongue lays straight, and I like a tongue that's wide enough that it fits, between the shaft, the edge of the shaft of the boot. So, and this tongue does that really well. And they're not really that hot. I was worried that wearing these, over the weekend, it's, over 90 degrees. And I thought these would be a little bit too warm to wear, because these are definitely a good, fall time boot when it's cooler outside and the weather usually stays wet and nasty all the time. But, even in 90 plus degree heat, surprisingly, this boot didn't get too hot on me. So I was really thankful for that. Now this toe shape is a bit of a wide, taller toe shape. So I can see a lot of people getting this toe caught on stuff and scraping it up. And I did a couple times at work. The toe would get caught on like the table and stuff, where I sat at the table. And so it would just kind of like, sometimes whenever I'd, get up to go do patrol or something. I work in security, so when I get up and go do patrol, and sometimes just that extra tall toe box would catch on the table a little bit and scrape. But when with this Trail Crazy horse, it doesn't, it's pretty abrasion resistant. It made a mark, but you can just rub it right out. And it didn't actually dig into the leather at all. It just made a little scuff mark. And with that Trail Crazy horse, I just rubbed it right back out, and it's not even there anymore. So these look like they haven't even been hit with anything. Of course, this is the bottom of the other boot, kind of the same deal. That outsole is really awesome. These are so far been probably one of my more favorite waterproof Thorogood boots that I've ever bought and worn. Of course, you know, they still got a little bit of break-in time to go, but they're not at the point where you can't wear them a whole day. You know, some people with new boots, they'll wear them for like half the work day, and then lunchtime they'll take them off and put their old boots on to give their feet a break from trying to break in a new pair of boots. And these ones I didn't feel like I ever had to do that. I wore them, you know, like I said earlier, I wore them through the whole 24-hour weekend shift, which is 12 hours a day. They never come off my foot. I never even got to the point where I felt like my feet were hurting too bad. And and one thing I'm hoping will happen is I would like to see this come together a little bit closer. Not a whole lot closer, but if I can get it to come together to where there's at least an inch between, I would feel pretty comfortable with that. And I would say that'll probably happen with time. It's just, it takes time. And they've come together farther than what they were when I remember when they were new, when I first put them on. So yeah, if you got wide feet like I do, and you need a good, comfortable, waterproof boot, it doesn't get too hot, and where these are Nanotoe, they're lighter than a steel toe. So this boot is almost as light as a soft toe boot. There's a little bit of weight there for that with that Nanotoe in the toe box, but these definitely don't have the weight of a steel toe. If these were steel toe, I bet these would weigh probably close to 5 pounds for the pair, and the Nanotoe probably cuts that down to probably about 3 pounds for the pair. So there's a deal of weight savings. There's a deal of weight savings with that. So I mean, yeah, I would highly recommend this pair of boots to anybody looking for a nice, comfortable, waterproof boot that's obviously American made. Of course, these are American made with US and imported components, but that does kind of help keep the cost of the boot down a little bit. You know, these are still, I got these on sale. I found them on sale over at that John Deere dealership, and they were like $249. And so that's not horrible for this much of a boot, and for the amount of materials that's in this boot and technology. That's not a bad price. This boot retails for, I think I've seen this boot retail for at least $300, or, you know, some places it might be a little over $300. But when I found them on sale over there for $249, I was like, that's too good of a deal to pass up. I'm definitely getting those. And so, one other thing I wish these boots had on them that some Thorogoods do have is I would like to get the, I call it a lace keeper, but it's a little metal tag that, you know, you run your lace through it and it sits in the middle right here, got the American flag on it. I think this pair of boots should have definitely got that from the factory, but I mean, you can get them online. They're not that pricey, but these definitely need that lace keeper on them. The laces so far, I don't think I've been too bad about wanting to wander. That's what I call it. Every time you're lacing the boots up and on and off every day, and your laces will kind of start to wander, where one side will get shorter than the other, and you gotta unlace the boot down to like the very first eyelet on the bottom, and then straighten it out, even it, and then relace it back up. And that's what that lace keeper is supposed to do. It's supposed to kind of help keep your laces from shifting and wandering around. So yeah, I think that's about all I got on this model boot. Of course, these have the nice brass hardware going up. You know, the solid machine brass speed hooks that I like, and the round brass eyelets. And of course, these have this is a synthetic welt. A lot of people looks at this and thinks it's leather. It is the color of a leather welt for the most part, but it is a synthetic welt. And they do a storm welt, but the only stitching that actually holds anything together is the bottom stitch. The side stitch that makes it a storm welt. Of course, if you've seen Rose Amble's video on Thorogoods, he cut them in two and discovered that the stitch on the side that makes it a storm welt stitch was actually a fake stitch. It was just there strictly for looks. And then the bottom stitch is what makes it a true Goodyear welt that actually holds, you know, the boot together traditionally. That was a little bit disappointing when he found that, but it is what it is, and you know, it does make the boot look pretty cool still, even though it's not a real storm welt. I think if it was a real storm welt, yeah, they couldn't get away with selling this boot for less than $300. I mean, it would easily, the labor and the extra time stitching that extra stitch, yeah, they would definitely be charging the, you know, $300 and up price range on this boot, which some places still do charge that, but I found them on sale. Usually places that online that have this boot pretty good is like you got midwestboot.com. They're a large Thorogood dealer, and I'm trying to think of some other places that, you know, you might find them on Amazon for, you know, a little bit less than $300. Or you might get lucky and get on Facebook Marketplace, and somebody might have a pair of these that they tried them on and they didn't fit, and you know, they couldn't return them for whatever reason. I guess maybe they wore them outside or something, and they can't return them to the store, so now they're forced to sell them off of Facebook Marketplace. So yeah, get on there and look around. I bought boots off of there before. A guy had a pair of Red Wing 606s I'd done a video on that, you know, he only wanted like $100 for them, and they were brand new. Like he wore them, he said he wore them like a couple times and decided they didn't fit right or something, and so he decided to put them on there and sell them for $100, and that's like a $250 boot, brand new from he got them at the store called, it don't exist now, but it used to be a store called Kipling's in Point Pleasant, which is kind of local to me, but that store's gone now. But yeah, they were, you know, $250 from Kipling. So you just get on there and look around, and you'll find deals like that. People will sell, you know, practically brand new boots for easily half off the, you know, what they paid for them, just, you know, because they can't do nothing with them, and they, you know, they know they wouldn't be able to get what they paid for them out of them, so because they're, you know, technically worn and used. So yeah, I think that's about all I got on these. So yeah, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, all that fun YouTube stuff. I noticed my subscriber count's going up, which makes me happy, and it really makes me want to keep making content, and we'll keep pumping out the videos, and we'll catch y'all on the next one later.